We have the first official big injury of 2025, and unfortunately, it is Gunnar Henderson. What do? We have you covered on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominick Martino. You can find me on Twitter on @DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ahne, and you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Ahne. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It will subscribe you to the channel and give you a notification every time we drop a new episode. Or if you're listening on the audio side of things on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And once again, guys, I have to preach this because it's super important this time of year as you're prepping for your drafts and you're scrambling and you don't know what to do. I'm going to tell you right now what you do. You head over to the Subtext platform where you can find the link in the bio wherever you're listening or watching, and you subscribe because Matt and I have you covered as you're getting ready for your drafts. We will answer all your keeper, dynasty questions. You'll get our 2025 rankings, sleepers, breakouts, bust, and so much more than we can offer in these 30-minute podcasts. And the best part is you're going to get text messaging alert updates right to your phone. You're not getting that anywhere else in the industry. And so make sure you subscribe to us on the Subtext platform. And folks, when the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So get on FanDuel today. And all right, Matt, this is a pretty big one. You know, I know we've kind of talked about it off air. I don't know if we've talked about it much on air. There's going to be some injuries. You know, it happens every year in every sport when guys are ramping up. But Gunnar Henderson, he's on the board. He's injured. Matt, so why don't you take it away here, brother?
Yeah, so the injury, just not really happy, for Gunnar is really simple. It's a lower right side discomfort. And when it comes to right side discomfort, right, that's what I'm seeing here. Right, it's, lower right side discomfort usually means they're referring to the stomach area, which usually could mean like an oblique, and obliques can take weeks. Not obliques, I'm sorry, that's your legs. Your abs area, whatever the hell you call that. But essentially that could take weeks, and by weeks it could turn into 2 months. Luckily, we're in the beginning, we're not even in March, but you could expect him possibly to fall. I mean, to not play for maybe the 3/4 of April if it is what I'm thinking it is. So for Gunnar Henderson, if he doesn't get back out there real soon, or we start hearing the whatever the lower right side discomfort continues, or he strains something, he's going to fall down in the rankings, unfortunately.
Yeah, Matt, you kind of hit the nail on the head with Gunnar. It's just a matter of how long he's going to miss. It's like Matt said, it's a really good thing that we're still a couple of weeks out from opening day, and hopefully most of us are drafting in at least a week away, maybe 2 for most people, where we can we'll get the information before we're drafting, right? And in those redraft leagues, it's going to be super important because Gunnar's been such a high pick, borderline first rounder, where he should be going because he's an absolute phenomenal player. I think it's just keep your ear to the ground. We got you covered here at Locked On Fantasy Baseball. We'll keep you updated. If it's more serious and he's going to miss a month or so, obviously he moves down. I will say this, though. If it's only going to be a couple weeks and it's nothing serious and, he's getting pushed down and you're getting him like late second round, I think we jump back on it because he's still young. When you're younger, you recover faster from injury. Baltimore is good at what they do. They, pretty solid at keeping guys healthy. So I think as long as it's nothing serious, we should still believe in Gunnar Henderson, of course, but keep your ear to the ground on the information.
Sorry, real quick. I'm not as stupid as I thought I was. Oblique is your abdomen, and yes, I was right. So that's probably what it is. Just wanted to clarify.
Of course. And that's a great lead into this next guy. Let's talk some Wyatt Langford, also dealing with an oblique issue. The Rangers originally said, I think it was about 2 or 3 days ago when he first got hurt, they're going to hold him out for about a week and see how he looks when he comes back from that. So we're almost getting to the point where we're going to see, all right, we're going to have the news on Langford, hopefully before, we get close to our drafts. And once again, keep your ear to the ground. Young guy should be able to recover somewhat quickly. I like Wyatt Langford. I've got him in my top 25 outfielders. But once again, if it's more serious and, it's a lingering issue and we kind of get the word, he's going to hit the IL before opening day, he moves down probably more into that, I'm going to say like late outfielder 3 type range, because there's still a lot of upside with him. But if it's going to be a big significant injury, obviously he's got to move down a lot.
Yeah, so like from my knowledge right now and what I'm reading on the internet, is he got taken out last week. He was able to run some bases on Wednesday. Said that after that he was feeling great. He could hit in the batting cages by next week. So this is all good news. They didn't announce strain or anything like that. Oblique discomfort happens, especially when you swing a bat. So, we fear that because we've seen it with guys like, Luis Robert, and other players that have struggled with that kind of injury, and, they're out for 2 months. Royce Lewis too, even though they're bad names to say because they're always hurt. But, these are things that hold guys out for 2 months, and that actually did it to both of them to Robert last year, if I'm not mistaken. And, 2 months later, and then boom. So it's not worth the price sometimes.
Yeah, Matt, I'm 1,000% with you there. These oblique injuries are very toughy. Very tricky. So, like I said, let's play it by ear. A lot of good news coming behind Langford. So let's just keep it posted on that one. Let's get into some pitchers here. Let's talk a little bit about Brandon Woodruff. Brandon Woodruff, Matt and I were super, super, super excited for him coming back off the injury this year. Was finally in line to do the right thing again and just put up those strong Brandon Woodruff numbers that he always does. And little setback. He's probably gonna miss what they're saying, like Matt, what did they say about like a month? I think he's supposed to miss or something like that at least.
Possibly.
Yeah, possibly a month. So I think this is one where he definitely moves down a bunch. Matt and I, what are we taking, like as SP4, SP5? I think he just moves down to, and if you're talking about your standard, Yahoo League, 12-man league, 5-man bench where it's not super deep, kind of last pick, type of ordeal. Maybe if you really like him, you jump him up a round or two. Probably not doing much more than that. He's been, not, I don't want to say notoriously injured, but, as he's been getting older, he's been experiencing more injury. And Matt, what was the thing he had going on in his hand a couple years back? I forget what the name of it.
I can't even remember. It was the cold fingers.
I can't remember the name of it, but he had that issue.
It'll come to me. Rain noise.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so he's had a couple issues over the past few years. So he's somebody I'm not jumping him up too high, but he's a great guy that you could draft and throw on your IL. And then, just if he comes back, and you're going to have a really, really good starting pitcher. If he doesn't, it's not going to be the end of the world because the price is coming down pretty significantly.
I got positive news actually on Brandon Woodruff.
Oh, shoot. Is something, could I miss something? Did something come out?
So this is CBS about 2 hours ago.
Oh, so there you go. That's why we got this is live news, folks, live for you.
So yes, Thursday, by the way. Woodruff has now faced hitters on 3 occasions this spring and has built his workload up from 20 pitches to 30. And while Woodruff is being treated for full participation in spring training, he's still being ramped up slowly following his October 23 shoulder surgery and not being viewed as a realistic candidate for opening day. But following his second sim game in the past Friday, Woodruff told Adam McCalvey of the MLB.com that fantasy fastball was touching 92 miles an hour, which is still like 3 ticks below his average velocity, but still his last healthy session in 23. So Brandon Woodruff could now complete another sim game or 2 before the Brewers kind of get him back in the Cactus League. But that's also positive directions. If we start seeing a spring training start. If I hear he's missing 2 weeks and he's looking fantastic in those, spring training games, I'm going to move him up too. He's not going to be, as low as I have him right now. So he is an ever developing kind of situation. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets 2 more sim games in the next week and a half and he gets a start, which think about it. We're in March 1st next week. And then, we're in the middle of March. He gets a few spring training starts. He might just miss just opening day. That opening day rotation and, second time through the rotation, Brandon Woodruff is in there. So let's keep an eye out. There's a possibility in the world away where he actually does, come back a lot better than we thought. But coming up next, before, you start hearing about all these other guys like, show Manaea what to do with him. And, the next guy we really don't really care about, but we have to talk about it, and how this affects your fantasy outlooks and things like that coming up next.
And all right, folks, I need to talk to you about my friends over at FanDuel. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or you want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action, guys. And if you're looking for an even bigger payout, you can combine your live bets into same-game parlays with FanDuel. And once again, you can place those live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or you want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And I personally love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or picking up a player to hit a clutch three, I never feel like I missed my chance. And all right, guys, I'm still rocking with those Cavs, man. They look good. Young team. Garland's been going off. Bet on Garland with his assists, threes, points. Love me. We were talking about him last time. Rebounds, blocks, points, teams on the rise. I'd even bet on Cleveland just to win their games, and you can do that. You head over to the FanDuel app because it's super easy to use, and when you win, you're going to get paid instantly. So right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Once again, that's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And all right, folks, I gave it a big breakdown at the top. We'll keep it a little bit short, sweet, to the point here on this one. I got to talk to you, though, about it. It's the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast Diamond Club on the Subtext platform. And, as you're getting close to your drafts, it's your secret weapon, right? It's right in your pocket. You're getting those text message alerts from Matt and I right to your phone. It's going to give you that advantage you need over your league mates on draft day and throughout the season. So when you subscribe, you're going to get Matt and I's 2025 rankings, sleepers, breakouts, busts, and so much more. We're working on those prospect rankings. We should have them out hopefully by the end of the weekend. We're not guaranteeing it, but that's what we're aiming for. So once again, head over. We have the link in the bio wherever you're listening or watching. It's available on any of our social media platforms, and give us the chance on Subtext. We promise we will help you win your leagues. And all right, Matt, quick final thought on Woodruff, because I did not even know that information. As you said, just came out a couple hours ago. I like it. It's great news from Woodruff. I'll say this. If, like you said, if everything looks right, definitely not last pick. You kind of want to move him up a couple more rounds than that. Maybe get a little bit sneaky because he's one of those ultimate scratch-off cards. I will say this. From what you read, I pulled it up here. I'm reading it too. It kind of looks like they want to take it slow with a guy like Woodruff just because he's been hurt. I think he'll miss, like you said, at least the first 2 weeks, potentially more. Because even when they get him in those sim games, it's probably going to be one inning, the first start. Then he's going to go to 2 or 3. It's going to take him a little bit to get to those 5 inning starts. And I don't think the Brewers are going to throw him out there without the anticipation of him being able to at least give them 5. And they have a couple options there. They got Mizorowski down in the minors. Aaron Ashby's coming back this year. So it's not like they're really hurting for Woodruff to be out there. And I think they should take it slow just because we'll get the best out of Woodruff if he's not being pushed. And, he does it with cadence per se. So I do like Woodruff. Great starting pitcher. Definitely worth drafting for sure. Just got to find that little sweet spot for him. But let's move on to something else. Oh, I'm sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Actually, I just wanted to take the next guy.
Oh, go for it. Yeah, please.
All right. So Sean Manaea, the Mets. So he has another oblique injury. 'Tis the spring to have oblique injury. It's kind of messed up, but here's the thing, right? So everything I was talking about, oblique injuries and things like that, what they can lead to, he's a prime example. So they're flat out saying, so he's going to be out of big league games action until, some point in April. So they're already expecting him to miss March. So I have a feeling he probably won't even play in April. If anything, he'll be in rehab games in April and then kind of working himself back. Manaea's an interesting little pick. I got to move him down in my rankings. He's somebody I'm not going to overlook either. Not somebody I'm going to draft, but somebody I'm probably going to, keep on the watch list. And then as it gets closer, I'm going to add him. But, use this as an example of what the possibilities could be for Gunnar, what this possibilities could be for Wyatt Langford. Look, I don't like spring training injuries. I hate them, in all honesty. Usually, especially when it comes to soft tissue issues, they usually linger. And when they linger, they don't end up playing a full season. So keep an eye out. And, I'm probably going to bump down Gunnar in my top 12, not by much, but enough.
Yeah, I kind of buried Manaea, I'll be honest with you. I mean, he's talented and he had a great year last year, but there's just other hurt starting pitchers that I'd be interested in. He's also 33, getting a little bit older. He's talented, but just somebody I'm actually definitely not going out of my way to draft him on my draft day. So I'll say that about Manaea. Talent is there. If you're in a deeper league, if you're like a 15-man, or if
Draft
you're in
and hold.
yeah, or you're in one of those points leagues where starting pitchers are heavred favorably. That probably changes my outlook on Manaea. You might want to then you could probably draft and stash, but just regular 12-man points head-to-head categories league, probably not putting too much thought into Sean Manaea. Same with this next guy. And the reason I kind of want to bring up this next guy kind of goes hand in hand with another thing. So let's talk a little bit of Frankie Montas. Went over to, those Mets too. He's shut down for 6 to 8 weeks. He's was more of a deep league guy anyway at this point in his career. But you know what? I kind of liked the move to the Mets. So I thought, maybe there's a little bit of a better outlook there. So, it's tough. It's tough for Frankie Montas. But the reason I do want to mention Montas is it gives, a guy like Griffin Canning a chance in that rotation. And he's somebody we shouldn't be overlooking on draft day. ADP is $3.99 right now on a guy like Griffin Canning. So the Frankie Montas injury kind of brings in, a younger pitcher with Griffin Canning, only being 28, turning 29. Still has some upside strikeout numbers. I like Griffin Canning, but once again, Montas not on any draft cards, not even in those deep leagues.
Oh God, no. He wasn't even consideration, even if the guy would have told me he feels like he's 20 again. He's done. He was the biggest waste of trade we ever had when it came to the Yankees. So this news is irrelevant other than the fact that, Frankie Montas got an honorable mention for the first time and only time this whole season. But anyway, let's switch into happy thoughts. Let's talk about happy. Let's talk about what's going on around the league. Let's talk about spring training performances. And let's talk about Elly De La Cruz already having 3 bomboramas in spring training already. Dude looks absolutely pulverizing already. And, what else could you ask for from this kid? We saw a pretty good 2024 campaign from him. And, there was some things that were a little bit more on like the leftist desiring more from his performance last year, especially in like the batting average category. He only walked away with a 259 batting average. The strikeouts and walks were a little bit on the rough end side, so in 0.6 he kind of killed you. But he didn't disappoint in the stolen base, the speed, and things like that. And the power, we knew it was there. And you know what? 21 home runs isn't atrocious, but you would have expected a little bit more with the average exit velocity that he outputs. But this is already great turn of events. He's already cranking it out, looking like, okay, cool, I'm ready to start getting going, and we're gonna start seeing some things. So far on for spring training for him, it's looking really wonderful. I'm just going to read it off real quick. 8 at bats, which I mean, really small sample size, but still, this is nice and early. 4 runs, a single, a double, 3 bombs, 4 ribs, and he literally has an average of 625. So he's doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing. He hasn't struck out either, which is pretty huge. So maybe he's trying to take a different approach to the plate. I think Elly De La Cruz takes that step forward all around and has some serious upside. He keeps this up, he's going to get bumped up to probably my top 3 pick. It's going to be bonkers.
Yeah, I love me some Elly De La Cruz, absolute stud. I think at minimum we move him over Gunnar for now until we get the news on Gunnar. And if it's good news on Gunnar and he's fine, probably move Gunnar back. But for now, I think we push Elly over him at the shortstop position. I'll say this too, Matt. If I remember correctly, I think it was his first or second spring training game. Might have been the first one. He homered from both sides of the plate too. Obviously, we know Elly's a switch hitter. Love to see him do that. Like I said, I think there's, I know there's another level here for Elly De La Cruz. Obviously, 35 homer, 70 stolen base set, a threat, kind of like a Ronald Acuna light version. And, I kind of want to see, I love the power, I'd love to see, we kind of knew he had it, and he's still young, 23 years old. I want to see a little bit more of, like you said, he hasn't struck out, but he also hasn't walked. I want to see him be able to put the ball in play. I want to see him to be able to put the ball where, the defense isn't. And that's what's going to help him really get that batting average up. And like I said, if Elly's a 35 home run, 70 stolen base guy, and he can get that batting average up to 275, yeah, Matt, you're honestly not wrong. He belongs in top 5, arguably top 3 type of range, this year. Maybe we're taking them next year. Maybe he's in the conversation for the number 1 pick in 2026. I would not be shocked. But before we move on and we talk about some other players that are having monster springs, and you need to know these names because draft day is right around the corner. We got you covered coming up next.
And okay, looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with the wonderful pistachios. Wonderful pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats that help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shell variety, which I truly do. It's perfect grab and go snack that is great for a busy day, whether I'm snacking at my desk, on a road trip, or just need a quick protein boost. They're always ready to go. Plus, I love just cracking them open every shell. It's a satisfying crunch, and the in-shell option is a classic favorite, which it is. Who doesn't love just sitting around and cracking some and eating some pistachios? Might as well do it wonderful. Get snacking, get cracking with the snack that packs protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. And okay, so we are rocking, we are rolling, and this next guy here is an interesting name. There's a lot of implications in his spring training performance, and I need to bring it up, and that's Corbin Carroll of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Look, he had probably one of the most disappointing seasons a fantasy player can have. There was a lot of shoulder injury concern going into 2024, and a lot of people were just not buying in on things. But he did turn around towards the end of the season, and I like that. He had that one big month, I believe it was August, and he just went completely, he had 589 at bats last year. He had 121 runs. He had 22 doubles, 14 triples, 22 bombs, 74 ribs, 35 stolen bases, and still had a batting average of, an atrocious 231. But you start looking at what he's doing in the spring training right now, and it's absolutely wonderful, right? 7 at bats, 3 runs, a single, 2 bombs, 5 ribs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, 2 stolen bases, and is batting a lovely 429 already. Now, again, small sample size, but this is exciting news. Him getting off to a good start can kind of solidify things for him and possibly trend in the right direction. Now, I haven't heard any concerns about the shoulder, not since the beginning of the season last year. Maybe there was a course correction in the offseason that's making him healthy, and I'm buying in on the talent. It makes me feel a little bit better about my ranking of him at the position. And if he keeps going on this tear, he's going to rise in the rankings at outfield as well, because we all know what the upside could be. You look back at the 2023 season, true breakout year where he had 565 at bats, 116 runs, 30 doubles, 10 triples, 25 homers, 76 ribs, 54 stolen bases, and batted 285. The dude has wonderful upside, and he's already done it once. He keeps this up, and he's going to be very, very interesting and a little less hesitation in terms of draft.
Yeah, I just think last season's getting a little blown out of proportion for Corbin Carroll. And honestly, it's just in terms of talk, because ADP has Corbin Carroll as the 11th player off the board. This is just making me feel more comfortable with taking him there. I don't necessarily think he's going to move up my rankings too much. I think because I have him at, I believe I have him at 8 or 9. The only person I have him below, and I think I have him one spot below this person, is Julio Rodriguez. That kind of becomes a little bit more of a conversation. I just think there's more power here in Corbin Carroll's bat. He showed it at the end of last season. Matt, you kind of touched on it a little bit. He hit 11 home runs in August. He hit 6 home runs in July. So the pop is there. I really think there's another level with the pop. The plate discipline was better last year with 73 walks to 130 strikeouts for Corbin Carroll. And then in 2023, Carroll had 57 walks to 125 strikeouts. So, that took a step forward. I just don't see any obvious reason that the batting average took a step back. So I just think there's a world where he gets back to normal Corbin Carroll, 280-ish type bat. 30 home runs is not out of the question. 40 steals is not out of the question. He's a big points leagues guy, too. If you guys play in points leagues, he gets bumped up big time. 14 triples last year, 22 doubles last year. I mentioned the plate discipline got a lot better last year. Corbin Carroll is going to be a fantasy stud for a long time. 24 years old this upcoming season. Draft him with confidence. I think he's going to be really, really good. And then try and trade for him, keeper in Dynasty if you can. If that window of opportunity is open, I don't think it will ever be more open than it was, at last year when he was struggling at the beginning of the year. Might have been really open at that point. But even in the offseason now, not everybody remembers that he killed it at the end of last season. So I think this is the time that we could really take advantage of Corbin Carroll's value, because he is so talented and he is so good that people are going to look at that bad batting average last year, and they're not even going to look at the rest of the numbers, that the rest of those numbers were fantastic. So I think there's a buying opportunity here on Corbin Carroll, keeper in Dynasty. Draft him with confidence and redraft. Let's move on to this next guy. I think it's a very interesting name, and it's very interesting to see that he's having a pretty good spring. It's Brett Baty of those New York Mets, tentatively scheduled to play some third base. So with Baty, at first when he came up, it was more of a question of the glove. Can he play third base? And he didn't do a really good job at that. Then he struggled with the bat as well. So, since 2022, when he got called up, it's been a real mixed bag for Brett Baty in the bigs. Hasn't really found his footing yet. But this spring training kind of looks like he's, starting to. It's only 3 games and 8 at-bats, but he has 5 hits, a homer, an RBI, batting .625. He mixed in a double in there too. This is his opportunity, man. Brett Baty, if he doesn't do it this year, maybe the Mets move on from him, or something happens here, because as good of a prospect as he was, I think that window of opportunity is slowly closing. The Mets have a lot of good hitting prospects down in the minors, and they could really move things around if they want, to get Brett Baty out of there and get one of these other young prospects up in there. But as I mentioned, there's pop in this bat. In the minors, he in 2024, in 62 games, he had 16 bombs. You like to see that. Hit 19 bombs in 95 games in 2022 with a .315 batting average. So there's a lot of pop in this bat. He's in a really good lineup. ADP on him right now is probably $3.99, to be honest. I don't really think anyone's drafted much of Brett Baty. So those deeper leagues, you're looking for a corner infielder late, maybe a bench bat. I think Brett Baty is somebody you could look his way. He's moving up my draft list little by little, but I still need to see more from him.
Yeah, when it comes to Baty, I'm not it's overly excited about him. He's an interesting case, but it's not something I'm going to target, in all honesty. It makes it, if I do have the opportunity to get him, I won't be upset. It's just really how I feel about Baty as a whole, as a talent. But yeah, you make great points, but I'm just going to kind of move on here. So we did a fun one. This guy's kind of irrelevant, but if you waited around this long, we can have a little fun. This guy, Matt Gorski of the Pittsburgh Pirates, he is 27 years old, a older prospect that hasn't been able to get up in the bigs. Guy can't buy a walk for the life of him. Ultimately, he has power in the bat, and he has 3 home runs through spring training already, which is pretty interesting. And looks decent from all the reports I'm reading. Is there a possibility he makes the team? No, but he's somebody that you want to keep an eye on if for some reason he either kind of breaks camp or, gets called up during the season. He could give you an influx of power, but, it's just, hey, he's tied for the most home runs in spring training. Got to talk about him, even though he's kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna backtrack for a second because I had a little brain fart. I totally forgot about Mark Vientos. So Brett Baty doesn't have a designated spot yet to play on that Mets team. But if he continues the big spring training, keep your eye on him. Definitely somebody to keep your eye on. As I mentioned, still only a deeper league play. My thoughts don't really change on him. Just forgot that they got Mark Vientos over there. A little brain fart for me. But let's talk about Gorski a little bit. Not super familiar with him. Has decent numbers down in the minors. Matt, he's an outfielder, right? Guys, forgive my ignorance. I'm not super familiar with him. Outfielder, I kind of want to see where the Pirates really don't have anybody, to be honest with you. So he could get in there in a heartbeat.
It's really
Tommy Pham, Brian Reynolds, and O'Neal Cruz is in the outfield right now. So actually, Tommy Pham's 37. So right there, he could, be
Andrew
out.
McCutchen.
Yeah. McCutchen at DH, 38 years old. So there's a couple spots where, a guy like Gorski could fit in. Deeper league play, if you in a keeper dynasty format and you can get him for absolutely nothing, you could take that move because he's starting to, his prospect value will rise, with him continuing to hit this spring training. Just a name to keep an eye on as, we move through spring training here. Matt, any final thoughts before we head out for today?
Honestly, look, don't overreact to, certain guys underperforming or overperforming at this point. for some guys, it's enticing, right? Like, okay, cool. We could kind of see the path. They're starting off hot. Let's see if they continue. But don't be like, oh my God, I'm drafting Elly De La Cruz #1 overall because he's had 8 at bats and he's leading the spring training in home runs. Like, let's see him continue it for the next couple weeks before we, really make any moves on it. Take it with a grain of salt until we're about 3 weeks in, and then we can kind of really make our decisions. Unfortunately, if your draft is in 2 weeks, we'll be able to help you guide through it. But just, again, don't overreact to spring training stats. They don't mean as much, especially for pitching, which we didn't talk about too many. But pitching, they're working on things that they may not use in the season. So if they look bad, don't buy into that either.
Matt, honestly, that was perfectly said. I really don't have much else to add. But, guys, get excited. Draft day is right around the corner, and give us a chance to help you out on the Subtext platform. Link is in bio. But that's all for today, folks. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. And shout out to our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. And after you make us your first listen, go check out our boy Sully over at Locked On MLB and make him your second listen each and every day. He's doing a great job covering spring training in a little different way than we do, so go check him out. Guys, until next time. See ya.
Peace.